Still a ways to go. Just not asking to keep much up here. Or backwards.
Yeah, I guess the last time you were here, you were passed it up, right? Yeah.
I got that off.
So she wasn't there.
3 weeks ago. I go to therapy twice a week, and we're not even working on weight yet, so when you see me right, it's like this, I have those strength.
I don't know if she got hard yet.
They had to get the muscles stretched out first.
I
I go out to St. Luke's, Russian giant there. They've been very good. Our trainers at the school were all the same.
And everything is like, they're used to getting on to get it back out there. It was all
They
pretty
hooked me up.
straightforward stuff.
As far as the schedule.
You don't have one?
Go back to work and don't have to say.
There should be one.
Maybe. We had said. I hate my phone.
I don't want to yell at
State Street between Falls and Home. There's a battleground farm, broken ground. The guys did.
Nope, just get the separate getting the bucket truck. Or if you need this, the bottom is for grabbing the bones, which was.
Well, they get 15% of the harvest.
Right.
And they get 85%. Hopefully we don't use it. I feel very comfortable. I did. I'm gonna. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please rise. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can we have roll call, please?
Sure. Ms. Falco? Here. Mr. Haney?
Here.
Ms. Hassler?
Here.
Mr. Stout?
Here.
Mrs. Stout? Here. You have a quorum.
Very good. Just for the record, we had 2 executive sessions, one held on March 18th and one held on March 27th regarding the labor negotiations. We have no minutes tonight, so we can't approve them. Communications.
Colleen, would you like to say something on behalf of the library?
Sure, I really would, thank you. This is National Library Week this week, and so I wanted to come and just say a couple things about the library. I joined the board a couple of months ago. I discovered all sorts of exciting things there that I wanted to share with you, and it's always nice to be able to come when we're not asking for money. However, I will tell you about our fundraising efforts in the meantime. First of all, thank you for your funding of the library. Our library funding, some of you may know, some of you may not, is provided, 52% comes from the state and county, and then the 4 municipalities, including Topton, provide us with 20%. Grants make up 2%. And the remaining 26% we raise with fundraising efforts. So that's how that goes. And they do amazing things there. So I have passed you a copy of the annual report with some of the things that have come up in the past year. Sorry, let me get back to the place where I was. There we go. The library has activities for all different ages, and that's one of the most exciting things about it. So in their recent newsletter, there were congratulations to Carson and Caleb, who read 1,000 books before kindergarten. That's pretty cool, right? And also there's a really rousing teen program, Teen Reading Lounge, and Amber does a great job with them. Last year, she got an award for that, a state award, a county award for the program itself, an outstanding program, and that was for the reading of Prisoner 1037, and a program that actually took the youth down to the Holocaust Museum last year. This year they are doing book clubs. They're reading books and then watching movies, and they're so excited about it that they on their own decided they wanted to start a book club for the younger children. And so this month they're doing Charlotte's Web, and they're going to run the book club. The kids read Charlotte's Web on their own and then come into the library for that. You all know Sheldon. He's been with the library for 6 years, but he's like 37 years old, I think. So he has been there for a lot. So no matter how old you are, there's something there for you to go to. If you like crafts, there's a craft thing, there's a Stitch and Chat, there's a Dungeons and Dragons club, there's conversation, there's a new technology program there, several different book studies, movie nights, just all sorts of stuff going on at the library. Not just books, so computers, big games, outdoor games. If you want a keyboard, there's a keyboard for loan there, there's a projector, there's a library of things that you can participate in. And lastly, I'll tell you just briefly about the fundraising efforts that are going on right now. Thursday at Anthony's in Hamilton's Crossing, there is a fundraiser for the library. If you go in, either lunch or dinner or takeout, whatever, you tell them at the outset that you're here for Brandywine Public Library fundraising, 20% will go to the library. So I hope that everybody will go over there and do that. There is a raffle calendar right now for sale. It will be for the month of May, but you need to get it ahead of time because it's each day in May that comes up on the lottery. For that, we have, let me make sure I get all of them in here. You all are allowing us to use the park. Thank you again for the Tortoise Trek in August. We have sandwich fundraisers. We have a New York City bus trip going on, and Paisley and Company. So there's just a lot going on, and we want to keep that going and keep that energy. So thank you again for all of the ways that you support us, and we look forward to continued partnership with you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the communications is we did hear from TCOC that the Fish Derby will happen on May 5th in the park. We also are working with Senator Pennycook's office, and she asked for location for Berks County residents to replace any deteriorated bad license plates here at Borough Hall parking lot area on May 15th from 4 to 6 p.m. The next item is under hazard mitigation. Steve Klein is our emergency management coordinator, so
Hi, good evening.
it's all yours.
So the Berks County just completed the 5-year hazard mitigation plan. This started back, I believe, in 2017. Stacy and I just submit a couple of surveys about the borough, so our concerns, some numbers they were looking for, and then among them and a bunch of committee members from the county, they completed this plan. So this plan was adopted by the state. All the counties had to do it. So the county just completed it and sent it out to the EMCs to get approval from all the municipalities. So what they're looking for is a resolution to be adopted that Topton Borough is going to adopt this plan as a whole. It's 237 pages long, so obviously I make every copy. It's available on the DES website, the Department of Emergency Services. If you go on there, there's a link at the bottom. You click on it, you can download the plan. Like I said, it's 237 pages. It goes over a lot of mainly the flood stuff. So talking about what's going to happen if we have flooding, what they'll have to do with like large watersheds like Onalani or Antietam or Blue Marsh Lake, what will happen there, the makeup of the county, the geology, and a bunch of other things like that. They talk about wildfire, and then of course tornadoes and some of the other storm related stuff. So as you all know, we had the Lyons tornado back in 98, 93, 98, one of those years out here in Lyons. We had a little bit of impact here in the borough, but not a lot. So thankfully, knock on wood, the borough is pretty self-sufficient. We don't have a whole lot of issues besides a little bit of Toe Creek flooding when we get a lot of rain. So we had very little to really provide with the study other than some basic information because we really don't fall into any of those categories. We don't have any wildfires in downtown Topton, so we're pretty lucky with all that. So like I said, it's 137 or 237 pages long. There's nothing crazy in there. We're not including a whole lot of stuff just because we don't have a whole lot of information provided to them because we're a small municipality. It doesn't really have a whole lot of national disasters. But I'm asking for tonight is a resolution adoption. They have attached language that they would like use to basically just keep everybody the same. So basically we just plug our information in there and get the Borough Council to approve and sign that for me so we can send that back to the county. They're looking to get all municipalities together, hopefully by July 1st, so they can have it all done and do the final publication of that report at that time. So once they get everybody's information submitted and collected, they'll finalize that plan and that'll be in effect for the next, I believe, 10 to 15 years, unless something majorly changes in the county.
Yeah, same as everybody in the county is signing.
Yeah, everybody, they're asking all municipalities to sign it, so
Yeah.
including all the colleges, universities, and any other large, like Berks Times involved on their own, Albury University or Albury College, Kutztown University, they were all involved in participating in this because they have a lot more at stake with a large population. So they were all involved in the process, so.
So may we put this on our May agenda?
Yeah, I just need it signed, sent back, so we can get rid of it.
So
You can either put it on the May agenda or because it's under communications, municipal resolution, I feel you could adopt it tonight.
Okay.
So the council wishes, but it's on the agenda, so.
Do you have a copy?
I
John,
would-
do you have a copy?
I do, and
Okay.
it's the same as with the borough's information plugged in, it's
Okay.
the uniform resolution.
Perfect. So you're okay with all that then?
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Is that all covered cost-wise by, on county level?
Yeah, there's $0 involved. The only time involved on our end was about an hour of Stacy sitting down, filling out some paperwork. And that was literally the only involvement we had. Like I said, we don't have a whole lot involved in this because we're just not that large. So we had 4 or 5 surveys I believe we filled out, sent back in 2018, and that was it.
So you just need a motion? Yeah, you need a motion to adopt, you need the next resolution number.
the only thing is we don't have, Stacy.
I can
doesn't
run
have-
over, but
Has our current resolution number.
Right, that can be
That can
filled,
be
that
added.
can be filled in, yeah, it's just a motion to adopt the resolution, adopting the hazard vulnerability assessment and mitigation plan update.
I'll make that motion for what John just said.
I'll second that.
It's right out of the caption.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Is adopted.
Thank you, that's all I
Thank you,
needed. I
Steve.
appreciate it. And Stacy, I'll get with you to pick that up down the road.
sounds good.
Thank you so much, appreciate your time.
Have a good night.
You too.
Well, our mayor has the night off, so don't, be sick or,
He cannot attend.
okay, you can attend. So we'll skip right over Mr. Guy. Sergeant, you're up.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. March 2024, Fleetwood Police Department's patrol time and hours spent. We had 865 patrol miles, 10 hours just patrol. We had 9 basic incidents we respond. That could be anything from an alarm call to something minor, which covered approximately 2 hours. Good news, we had 0 crash investigations while we were working, so I don't know if PSP had any, but 0 crash investigations for us. Our officers issued 10 traffic citations, 1 non-traffic citation, which could be a summary harassment, disorderly conduct, it could be, some other type of non-vehicle code type, violation. 11 hours specifically for traffic checks. Looks like there's, 2 hours for, specific paperwork. Vehicle stops, there was 22 vehicle stops conducted. 2 hours of criminal investigation, follow-up investigations. 4 hours spent in court. The citation breakdown was 2 parking offense, 2 obedience to traffic control devices, 4 speeding violations, and 2 speeding in school zone violations. No personnel info to report, no equipment information. And under projected activities or issues, dates are being planned for future police-sponsored events. Dates will be announced once they're confirmed. We try to do some community service type events or get out for young age students when they're available, and also for the community at large. And it could be, and if you're interested in any types of programs, sometimes we'll go out and talk about different types like a fraud or crime prevention, accident prevention, you name it, we can try to hope to maybe prevent some crimes and maybe save some lives when it comes to like accident prevention. So, anybody have any current issues they want to bring up or have me take back to and spread the word? Everything's good? Okay.
Nice to see the truck moved off of Home Island.
Yes, yeah.
Well, we have a couple officers who, their forte seems to be parking violations and so forth, you know, so they do a pretty decent job of, that kind of stuff, and speeding, it don't seem, so some people it doesn't seem real important, but I'm a fatal accident reconstruction as part of the Berks County Crash Reconstruction Team, and speed is a factor in many things, and it could be a factor in life or death, and, I've only seen 2 people die wearing a seatbelt. I've seen over 200 people die not wearing a seatbelt in 37 years of doing this. Never seen, the motorcyclists with, helmets versus no helmets is important. There's just a lot of, never seen a baby die in a car seat. So a lot of little things, but we try to spread the word to help prevent serious injury and death and stuff like that, so. If there's a problem area for speeding or anything, let us know, we'll try to do it. What we're gonna do, hopefully the next couple of weeks, when Mother Nature decides to get a little bit warmer, we gotta get out there and, restripe our timing lines, so we can run our stopwatches in speed timing areas so our officers can see the lines. We need to do them here and a couple other townships and stuff, so hopefully maybe we'll get lucky and maybe the state will finally approve us to use radar. We're the last state in the nation who have not been allowed to use radar, so hopefully that'll get passed sooner or later, but anyway, that's coming up, so if you have an issue with a certain area, let us know, we'll try to add it to the list. Okay.
Do you do any seatbelt checks in town?
We could if there's an issue, you might be an issue, sometimes they do them outside of schools at, school areas.
Well, I was just thinking out front here.
I could talk to the chief about possibly setting something like that up and doing that, even if it's just to hand out literature. We've already done it at DECA, and handed out about, 1,500 pan flyers and seatbelts, but that's something we can talk about and try to do.
Thank you.
Are you allowed to just stop a car if someone's not wearing a seatbelt? Do you have to stop them for an offense and then if they're not wearing one?
Well, in Pennsylvania, for passenger vehicles, it's not a primary violation, so I cannot just cite you for it. I could stop you and give you a warning and just say, hey, look, I see you're not wearing a seatbelt, you might want to wear it. But I can't issue a citation unless there's another traffic violation. Unless you're in a commercial vehicle, and in Pennsylvania, anything over 17,001 pounds considered a commercial vehicle. Don't need your CDL till you hit 26,000, but in a commercial vehicle, everybody in that vehicle have to have a seatbelt on, so.
So you are allowed to stop
You
a
can,
vehicle
you
for
can.
if you see someone doesn't have a seatbelt on? I wasn't sure, because some states, they were not allowed.
Well,
to
we
do
cannot cite, but if we want to
Okay.
stop someone, just say, hey, look, you need to wear your seatbelt. we can do that, but we can't issue a citation unless there's another primary violation. So, I just tell people, just make sure the people in the back seat are wearing their seatbelt too, because in a 40-mile-an-hour impact, those people in the back seat are gonna fly forward at 40 miles an hour. And they go from 0 to 40 and back to 0 in less than a second. So, it gets pretty bad, so. Our most recent fatal I just worked on in Ruskin Manor, that young man was not wearing a seatbelt. So, it's really, really important that airbags and seatbelts, there's almost always enough living space in the passenger compartment of a vehicle to survive a massive impact if you're properly restrained and then you add airbags to that, so. Anyway, I could talk forever about traffic, so.
Thank
Thank you.
Let us know if you need anything in any particular areas. Thank you.
Okay, great,
Take care.
have a good night.
Yeah, good night. See ya.
Anything from our visitors tonight? No?
I
Monica?
just have a question, and I don't know if it'll be covered under a committee report or not. Is there gonna be any party in the park? Park bash, music in the park?
You know,
Yes, but, organizations in the community are, running, staffing, getting volunteers for events, and that's one of them.
Okay, but there's no date set yet then, correct?
Kathy, can
Oh,
I see you after the meeting? I have
Oh,
I
I
have
know.
the tentative list.
Okay, cause for the ambulance is really why I'm asking.
Okay, so what I would do, I would recommend, any questions going to, Ethan's email, and he will make sure that the finalized list gets to ambulance,
Okay,
fire company.
Yeah, the only one I know so far that is set in stone is the June 1 for Community Days.
right,
Palm Avenue, that's the only one that I know.
It might be combined, and that could
Yeah,
be it.
I'm not.
I'm sorry, it's
No,
not borough run anymore,
Yeah.
so.
okay, thank you, that's fine.
Joe?
Okay, the item under my report is, the meeting, with the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, Local 773. I understand there was a meeting last month, there will be another meeting on April 22nd, 3:30 PM. The mediator will be attending this meeting. Mr. Taylor had brought a proposal to the last meeting, it's in the process of being charted for presentation and discussion. That was the update from Attorney Boland.
Okay, thank you.
And that's all I have, other items are elsewhere in the report.
Very good. Stacy?
During the last few weeks, we completed the recycling report for Berks County. We also completed the annual source water protection program report that's done annually as a requirement of having the plan completed. We welcomed a new employee to our staff. Kyle Roth was hired for the wastewater treatment plant public works position. And I wanted to bring it to the borough's and to council's attention that the property that is surrounded by our watershed has been sold in March. I believe maybe someone in the audience is the new buyer. I've been in contact with the real estate agent who helped to purchase the property, and also communicated with Long Swamp Township and their engineer / sewage enforcement officer. I would recommend that council send a letter to Long Swamp Board of Supervisors, to let them know where our pipe is for our drinking water system, so they know that when they're reviewing plans in the future for the installation of a house and a septic system, where that is located, as well as the location of springs that are nearby. They have also approached council, and Joan and Charlie are aware, as well as Eric and Ethan, regarding having a permit application completed by the borough on their behalf for an HOP. highway occupancy permit. Since we are the owner of the property closest to Home Road, it's Home Road, Woodside, we would have to apply to PennDOT for them to have access and to install a driveway to the property to then apply for other permits with Long Swamp Township. That would be their first step before they can apply for any permits for building a house, installing a septic, anything like that. So we're in negotiations regarding that.
Giving them the easement to come through our.
They already have
property.
a right-of-way easement that, ran with the property sale.
Gotcha.
It's just now that, we have an easement from them, they have an easement from us as a borough. It's, the application for the HOP.
Right, and there's an indemnification agreement that, that we prepare that we require any time we're acting as a permittee, for this type of private application. So that's an agreement that we would have to prepare. I would propose a letter to the property owner spelling that out, what would be in an agreement.
Is anyone here on behalf? Are you the gentleman who, no, okay, all right. We were expecting to see one of the, new purchasers tonight.
So we have a pipe that goes across that property?
Charlie has a map, actually. You wanna see where it is?
Could that be flagged out on our behalf? It's not flagged and flagged. Should probably be
Where
flagged.
is,
This is the property
This is
is in the middle, it's arrow, it's
Oh.
shaped like a number one. I put a little piece of a sticky note on it showing about where they're talking about the house.
it's almost in the
I've
middle.
highlighted your pipe that crosses and the adjacent springs that are near the property. All of the springs are at least 300 feet from the property line. So the pipe, there are separation distances from the pipe to a septic, that are in the septic rules that the township follow. So, I mean, they're not very big, but they're.
I'm familiar with this property. So this property had formerly been owned by a farmer over on Home Road, and that was a family property that was, the farmer actually gave that property and gave the right of way to Topton for the water line, and they put that water line in. It's a very sensitive area because you've got springs on either side, and that pipe runs right through it.
And it's all downhill.
And that property, well, actually, our borough had the opportunity to purchase that property about, I'm gonna say 15 years ago. And when it was on the market, and they didn't have the money to buy it. And according to the manager at the time, he actually approached the owner at that time. And unfortunately, Topton didn't see a value to purchasing that. And I agree with that because that's a critical area for our water, but it is what it is.
This map shows a pipeline going through that property.
There is a
Yes.
pipe that goes through there.
Our line goes across, and I believe the pipeline goes, north-south, or
It's right through it, and then there's a,
It's right in the center of the field. When you go down, you've got the driveway that's,
Is that a gas
Has a gate.
pipeline, oil pipeline?
Does it say what kind of pipe it is? Oil.
Yeah.
I wouldn't wanna dig into that.
Well, you're not gonna be able to dig around it.
Well, it's. You'll
Because
have to-
I'm
you'll
sure
have
it's
to
not
look
very
at that.
deep.
Yeah, you'll have to look at that, yeah,
Ran into
that's
that
gonna be tricky,
situation before.
that's gonna be tricky.
That map with, our line and fuel line was provided to the real estate agent, helped in the purchase.
that's labeled as the pipeline, that's power line, below is the borough's stuff.
The collection, okay, the yellow is the The main right there, yeah.
That's our water
Water
line.
main,
Yep.
okay.
Doesn't give them a lot of options where to put something.
And currently, the entire property, well, not the entire, but it's less than 11 acres and it's clean and green. With agricultural, not forestry, as the eligibility.
Well, means they only have, what, an acre? Isn't it an acre?
I'm not landed on it.
I believe it's 10 is the clean and green.
10 is clean and green.
And then
Yes.
beyond that, they have,
They can't develop
they
more than
can-
an acre of it.
Right, they can't split off.
Yep.
What are they proposing to build on there? Just a single residence or?
on a narrow,
Yeah, I know where the property is. I was just,
Just an odd shaped lot with different constraints.
Yeah, the concern for the borough is because of the springs are on either side, just making sure that, that any septic system is done appropriately to not
Right, that the isolation
cause
distance
any
is
problems
met.
for
Are you
the
familiar with this line?
water sources there.
Some-
It all slopes down toward our.
Somewhat, yeah, I've never been out to the lot.
They actually
but I
have
remember.
access to get to that lot from Home Road as well, not just Woodside. There's right where the curve is in the road, not far from where the ambulance.
Is that an
located.
easement to the lot?
Trying to remember, it's been a long time ago since I was involved.
Otherwise they wouldn't be able to get across with that
I
easement.
believe there's some type of access from there. I'm surprised that they're not, well, I guess if their house is on the other side, they don't wanna.
maybe the owners of that property, which I believe is Diacon. It would be home property. They haven't received an easement from,
I think there actually is something there, because that lot was accessible from both sides.
Yeah, there was a road that went to that lot from home.
Yes, there is.
It was a farmer's
Yeah,
lane,
the
basically.
farmer that owned all that.
You're
land.
not
Yeah,
gonna,
it
you're
was a
not gonna
farmer
get
that
up it right now
owned
anymore.
all
Yeah,
that.
I think,
It
I'm
was
just
never-
saying, I
hasn't
think
been
there, from what I
maintained.
remember, it's been a long time since I was involved with that property, but, I
Yeah, I
think
can
there's
imagine.
access there.
Probably all thrown over now.
Trees across it, everything, yeah, it hasn't been used in a long time.
Right, right.
You want it back, Charlie, right away?
so if it's all right with council, I'll write a letter
Please.
from the borough on our behalf, just informing the board of supervisors what's on the property now. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Committee reports. Carol's not here, so the Environment and Conservation Committee.
I do have an update on the signs, and it falls in the category of way more painful than anybody ever thought. PennDOT has come back and said they wanna have a meeting. I don't know why. So that's our question back. He hasn't responded, but we sent him the source water protection, which has the maps in it that show they wanted to see why the DEP thing that said that the sign should go there, so that's why we sent that. But he wants a meeting, so as soon as he gets back to Hawaii, I'll contact you, Stacy,
Okay.
and we can figure that one out, but I
Seriously,
never
we
even
wanna put up
seen,
some signs, I mean,
I,
why does everything have to be so difficult? But
no,
anyway.
that's not that PennDOT would notice they were there, but,
Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you.
sorry.
That's not your fault.
I like
It's
it.
kind of par for the course, I mean, let's be honest.
So for my report, the, last meeting I brought up that we had a COVID policy that is no longer, the country is no longer in a bad way with COVID and policy. I wanted to see if we could repeal that. We talked about wanting to do that, so I'd like to make a motion to repeal our current COVID-19 virus policy.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it.
Also, next, there is a property in town that we've had a bunch of issues with. There have been a lot of violations with our ordinances, code violations. And I've given our solicitor some information on how to contact the owner of the property, who to this point are not aware that they've been contacted, because we couldn't find the owner of the property.
Is that the one with the water shut off?
Yes, yes. So, it's on here to discuss our lien policy. So we currently have, in our policy booklet, under two areas where this property falls into violations, with water and sewer, there's currently an ordinance that states that we can lien a property. It would have to be filed with the pathonetary of the county, and we could collect the money that's owed by going that direction. We also have in the nuisance code, almost everything in the nuisance code, these people have been, the current occupant who's not the owner has been in violation of, and this also allows for liening the property in the absence of payment. So, the question Stacy had brought to me is, do we want to set a dollar amount for which we would then put a lien on a property?
And the reason for a dollar threshold is because you're filing the lien with the court, there's a filing fee, and there's counsel fees involved with preparing the lien. So you want to make sure that while you're acting consistently to collect what's owed and to lien properties where necessary, that it's not out of proportion to what you can hope to collect compared to what the costs are.
I mean, we have to have we don't have to, but I mean, we could leave it on discretion and see what the dollar amount is that our legal costs would be. It's not gonna be cost effective if we're only going after, $500 if that were the case. At what point should we set a dollar amount, or just at this point, we have at our discretion, whatever amount we want to?
Are we fairly certain we know where the owner is that we get service actually? Because service costs can get pretty pricey if you can't get it on the first shot.
Well, I've just given Joan, contact information of how this person is the owner of this property can be contacted. They are not aware that there's a problem with the occupant in this property, so.
It looks like this person is under guardianship, and it looks like there has been a case open for that guardianship in Berks County Court of Common Pleas. The law firm is one that I'm familiar with, so I could make a contact to that firm, try to get in contact with the guardian and report back to you next month.
I have one concern I have about bringing this up is that it's one thing to file a lien against a property if the property owner is aware of this problem. I have a problem with an occupant who has not informed the owner, and we have no way of contacting an owner with ever filing a lien against the property till we could find that owner.
Right. What's required, and this is a United States Supreme Court case from the early 1980s, is that you make reasonably sufficient efforts, reasonably calculated to reach the owner. That's the language that the court uses as far as any type of due process for notices, then that would include municipal liens. So if you're contacting, if you know that the individual's under guardianship, you contact the guardian. It happens to be a professional guardian in this case. That would be a reasonably sufficient attempt to collect, attempt to contact the owner. Other times, reasonably sufficient. It's very dependent on the circumstances, but here it's pretty clear.
The one question I have for you, Joan, is can we go after the occupant? Because we could file, rather than lien the property, is there a way we can pursue a judgment, a personal judgment against, because that is something we do in the courts, where we can personally go after a person for the collection of the fees. This particular case is an owner who's lived here for 40-plus years, has always paid their bills. They were responsible property owners, and now in their, they've got dementia and they're in a nursing facility under the care of guardianship, and they have someone in their house that's related to them who is the one who's really been neglectful and has caused this expense that we have.
If the property maintenance ordinance goes to owner or occupant, yes, you can cite the occupant of the property. I mean, ultimately, an owner is responsible for what happens on the property, but if the ordinance does refer to owner or occupant, and I tend to write ordinances to refer to owner or occupant because.
And these do say that.
Because I very much believe that an occupant along the lines of a long-term tenant who's created the conditions can make a victim of the owner of the property, especially in cases like this. So I feel strongly about citing an occupant when the occupant is apparently responsible. Let them assert any defenses that they may have. It's criminal, they're innocent until proven guilty. But I believe that where you can cite the occupant and the occupant is likely responsible, you should.
I guess the question for me on that is, does he have anything? He's not paying the bills.
He actually does.
Does he?
So there's something wrong, but my understanding is that there isn't an issue there unless something's changed. So it's a matter of
Well, he's living there without
responsibility.
water, so I wonder what is.
I don't know if he's, do we know if he's still living on the property?
Last
He
I
is
heard he
still
was.
there, we don't know if it's
Just visits or if he's
24/7.
okay.
Right, now, if the property
No,
is
it's
placarded as unfit
It is
for
placarded.
human habitation, has been condemned, it's a crime for him to be there. He has no right to be there, with the exception of with the permission of the code official to go in to fix conditions.
There may be some psychiatric issues.
There very often is psychiatric overlay in these circumstances, but still, it is a crime if he is in the property. And, maybe that's cause for talking to county mental health, but, that is a serious matter if he's in a placarded property. Dangerous.
So what do we wanna do with this? Do we wanna just table this for now, since she was going to move forward?
I'll make some investigation and report back to the two of you.
Okay, thank you.
We'll
Thank you.
table until next month. Is that enough time for you, John?
It should be, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna contact the attorney that I know best over at that firm, and who is either the one who is responsible for it, or who could point me in the right direction.
I think you get some of that. Next on the list, we have an ad being run for a part-time administrative assistant. We can ask Stacy if you could please, where we are with that.
We've received an abundance of resumes, we've gone through them, and we plan this week to start first interviews. There's some promising resumes and,
So you have multiple?
oh, yes,
That you-
yes,
Good.
yes.
And that concludes, my report.
Very good, Dan, you're next.
Yes, at the last co-op meeting on March 21st, the topic of discussion was the purchase of a tractor and 35-ton lowboy trailer. I would like to make a motion to participate in this purchase of the tractor and trailer at a cost not to exceed $46.25. We need this to move our larger equipment from township to borough and back and forth.
It'll end up being a cost savings for us.
Oh, yeah,
It's a great price.
it is. And the tractor and trailers have been inspected by the roadmasters, and they all are in on the purchase.
So you're making a motion that we buy it?
That we
At that cost.
participate, and that our cost is $46.25.
I would second that.
Okay, with whom are we participating?
I'm sorry?
With our co-op?
With the
Yeah.
co-op, okay.
So the intermunicipal agreements will be prepared following council's decision this evening.
Okay, that was the next question, whether it was part of another agreement, but okay, that's fine.
Do we have a following ones coming from? I mean, I don't disagree, we need it, but I mean,
I
do
had,
we have any,
Ethan had said we had some money set aside for repairs of equipment, and that there was some monies available, but that's all I know.
I can get back to
You wanna
specific
wait?
line items. I don't,
Well, if we could make the motion pending,
Finances.
financing,
Pending, yeah, confirmation,
Yeah.
yeah, that's fine.
All right, I have a first and a second. All in favor?
I,
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Stacy, will you, once you confirm the financing, will you let them know?
yes,
Okay,
I'm actually going to contact them tonight because they want to move forward with, because they don't
Okay.
want to lose the items.
yeah. Thank you, that
there's a couple
concludes.
possibles, I just don't know what's already committed.
Got
There's
it.
a couple accounts possible, but, so I just don't know how much of that money's committed. I just wanna make sure it's there.
He
that's all.
said we had more than that available.
Good.
And that's, once I knew that, I stopped asking.
There you go. Thank you, Dan.
Yes, that concludes my report.
Kathy?
The 2022 audit is completed at this point. The auditors are working on the 2023. I decided to wait until they have their 2023, everything is completed with that. And then they will do a presentation to council on, their findings, things like that for the 2 years, rather than have them come twice. It is included in the RFP, the cost. We don't have to pay anything extra for them to do that. I'm not exactly sure when they will be done with 2023, they'll be back whenever they decide to come back. I would also request a motion to approve the bills and transfers.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Anything else, Kat?
Oh, no, I'm done, I'm sorry.
Just waiting.
I'm sorry, yeah, no, that's it.
Our Communications Relations Committee from Ethan, I guess just check on our calendar to see if there's any dates or events. Since he's not here, I'm kind of speaking for him, so. Now to my committee, Property Committee. All of you have the letter of agreement in front of you that I got from the forest sale, timber sale. Joan looked over and had some comments. Do you wanna address those?
Yeah, let me just pull them up.
From what I saw, they were minor.
They were, there was nothing that was a deal breaker, yeah.
I don't think Jacob, the forester, will have any issues with our changes. He's expecting some because it's kind of a general agreement and not specific necessarily to us. So he was expecting some changes for him to sign. He was gonna come tonight, but he's out of the state.
I had wanted some additional indemnification and some clarification on the insurance and insurance certificate. Those were the major comments that I had. I had some others, a couple of them were just minor drafting issues, but the main,
Draft an agreement with those changes in.
I could do that, yes.
Get it to Stacy so I can get it back to him.
Yeah, I'll be glad to do that.
Or I could just incorporate your comments that you've already transmitted to us, whatever's easiest.
Yeah, why don't you prepare it, send it back to me, I'll take a
For
look
review.
at it, that'd be probably the most efficient way to do it, but yeah, I mean, just because I mean, for example, there was no reference in there to workers' comp, I wanted to make sure, because it's not an ultra hazardous activity, but it has its risks, and I wanna make sure that, that they have workers' comp certificate, and, I felt that the indemnification language needed to be shored out. Those were the major comments I had with the agreement, otherwise, I thought it was pretty standard.
I have a couple questions for you.
Sure.
So, do we have any survey concerns? They're, basically saying here that we're gonna take full responsibility if there's any boundary issues.
Well, they have the map of the whole property with all everything marked.
So it was surveyed in the past and we have
Yes.
like accurate.
We have
line?
a map with all the springs located, everything's located on that. I believe, did you get that?
The only thing I have is what you have right in front of you.
Okay, well, they,
Part of his responsibility would also be to come back to you and say, I can't find a line.
okay,
If he can't find a line. He shouldn't mark trees, just marking trees. He should come back and say, I need some help.
So are you the one that helps him with that if he has,
It would be a surveyor that would come out and find the boundaries. You'd end up engaging somebody to do a boundary survey if you don't have any knowledge of where the line is. I haven't been out there, so I don't know what the property boundary looks like. There's some of them,
it's very irregular.
yeah, there's some of them on
is it
there
pretty
that have
distinct
stone
or it's pretty?
fences. If there's other fences, a lot of times you can find, if there's part of it's got a fence and the rest doesn't, you can still extrapolate. That's,
I mean, do we know there's
that Scott was
expense?
pretty confident in where.
Yes,
Scott
Scott
knows
seems
where
to
it
know
is and
where
you-
the lines were.
yeah.
There aren't any fencing or anything. I mean, the one side over here is the street,
Right.
and there are a couple properties, like the one we went over here, that is in the middle. That's pretty much delineated by basically the field. There is another house that is bordering ours on one side, but the rest is the home property. It wouldn't be hard to
I guess I
locate
just
it.
wanted to, I mean, it is what it is. I guess I just wanted to know if there, what added expense that would be. We really don't know that there would be at this point, any added
I
survey
think Scott could take care of
survey.
everything.
expenses, okay. And then how long, they have a buy date of 12/2025. How long do you think they'll be working on this to identify and?
Before they start cutting, you mean?
Well,
Or-
it says, I guess they're finding buyers to do the cutting, we have to enter into a contract.
What they're gonna do is they're gonna take an inventory,
Right,
and he does a contract with them. With the loggers.
I thought it said we had to enter into a contract with the loggers to make sure that does he have responsibility if there's any damage to the, wetland or any?
Well, that's
He
the indemnification,
Yeah.
those are the issues I want to
Okay.
address, to make sure that he has the ultimate responsibility, or his company has the ultimate responsibility.
Okay, because that was what I was concerned about,
Yeah.
sounds like he's pretty much saying we're not responsible, and you have to enter into a contract with the buyer, whoever the buyer that he gives us to then do the work. They're the ones cutting the trees, and he's identifying them,
Well,
logging them.
they act as a contractor, I believe.
Yeah, this
Yes.
actually, the date is there for that it's a sunset that allows you, that automatically cancels the agreement if he goes out and marks the trees and you guys, he comes back with a value and you're gonna choose at that point whether to proceed.
To accept their
And
contract.
this says that by mutual, basically if you don't both agree, the agreement will sunset at the end of 2025. So that you're both not sitting there holding the bag per se, but
Well, we're paying for him, the work he did, I think a minimum of 27,000.
and you pay that regardless of
Okay.
your desire to proceed with the logging. It means that part of that reason for that sunsetting is that's giving you close to 2 years. Well, the tree stand can change characteristics over time, and my guess is probably not too long after that, they want to remark the trees. So, and reevaluate going through. So I think that's part of the reason for that, sitting there, is that the tree marking's not gonna be good forever because of that. I think you'll have a good feel when he marks them and comes back and says, this is the value, whether you wanna proceed or not.
So he's not directly cutting the trees, he's getting
Right,
someone else.
he's
who's
like a
cutting.
broker.
Right, exactly, it says here he's our broker, so I guess my concern is, are we sure whatever buyer who's cutting we're going to be safe with them? Is he accepting their liability? He's not, right?
Right, well, again,
We have to
that's
put
where,
that in.
right, we would have to put that in, but also I want an indemnification provision in this agreement.
Okay, thank you.
You'll end up with just like any of the contractors that are working, it's the same agreement. He's essentially taking our role in this, and
Okay.
you're
For the
engaging with
50%.
him for a professional service,
Right.
and then there'll be a separate contract for the cutters, and the loggers, that will define what you get paid per board foot of what.
Thank you, just want to make sure I'm really concerned about that.
That's why she looked over it.
Okay, good, okay, well, I guess we'll look at that at the next, you're
Right,
this is
yeah.
just for review, and we're not gonna approve this tonight.
No.
Right,
We're gonna,
we'll table it and try to approve it at our next meeting.
okay, great, thank you.
I'd like to get them started as soon as possible while the market is up.
Yeah, for sure, thank you.
And so we have the money for the,
Well, it is gonna be quite a long process. All right, you saw the bids on the roof for our maintenance building that we got?
Any questions, or
yeah, how are we gonna pay for it?
that one I can't?
Well, there may be a possibility that our insurance company, now, Stacy, you gave them bids? The
Yes,
bid-
and I haven't heard back yet. It was only
It was
Thursday? Is that when the bid tabulation was
Yep.
supplied? Yes.
that we may be able to get more insurance due to the cost of the roof, more insurance money. We have, I believe, 60,000 earmarked for the roof.
65, but
We
we're
already
also
used
doing that
5.
others, I was just gonna say, we did that other part, so it's not, so it's 60 plus 18 in insurance we got so
A
far,
little less than 18.
so less than 18. That still puts us at least 30,000 short.
And we have to find it. We have to find the money. One suggestion is, and we have the recreation loan. I know this is not recreation in any way, shape, or form, but it houses some of the equipment that we use to maintain our park. So that could be the justification, that part of it would be paid from the loan proceeds that still sit in an account for deposit. That was supposed to be earmarked for paying down the loan this year, after we see what is left from it, after we close out the pool and demolish and do whatever needs to be done to the rest of the park. Still not a lot of money, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Why'd we get so little from the insurance?
That was their
It's
first.
an old roof.
They
Yeah.
they
It's
ru-
slated
they
for
rushed
replacement
it.
before.
And they don't give consideration to the materials that are on the existing roof being so antiquated now that they're not manufactured any longer, and we have to find a stockpile somewhere, or one of the bidders has to find a stockpile somewhere, so they only base it on the materials that are on the roof now, and not an upgrade at all.
Has an independent adjuster looked at this? Is that a possibility?
No, but the insurance adjuster has, so that is a good suggestion.
There's gotta be a way to engage the insurance company. I think what you said about an independent adjuster, there's a thing with that.
Okay.
I just know I was in the other day and
It's bad.
when it was raining, it's not good. And the longer we hold off, the more mold and other things we're gonna have to worry about.
Well, if we use those funds, we can still go back to the insurance company and get
I would hope so.
what's reasonable to do.
I mean, I definitely think we need to go forward and accept it and get it going. And then we'll just have to, if we have to, then that's where we pull it from, but.
Well, we also, I think we need to really start seriously looking at reducing some of, wherever we can, with some of our elective spending. I mean, I don't know, we need to really look at our budget. There's a lot of monies that we spend on things now that maybe we could do without. And every little bit could add up to something.
Not a whole lot of it though.
I agree, but the roof we can't ignore.
That's not
Yeah, we gotta
elective.
do-
Yeah.
gotta do-
But I agree, there's some things we may not be able to do, but this is.
This is
one of them.
important, we have to do it.
I mean, this is about mitigating potential, not just harm to the structure, but also to any equipment that's
Employees.
housed in the structure.
And right now, this includes, so it's about a 2,500 square foot roof. This includes that allowance for replacing 500 square feet of deck. People felt softness a couple of times up there, so that's why there's that in. We didn't see great signs underneath that there was a whole lot to go. But if we delay too much longer, there's a chance that number increases.
Yeah.
So that would be one of your risks, is that number going up. There are two choices that you must make if you want to award, other than who. The first is about alternate number one. We've left it as an alternate because we've done the drawing. Originally, we talked about replacing the canopy. When we got into look at the work out there in the field, none of us really felt that was worthwhile, especially having a roofing contractor do the work, and you can see why with the cost for that. So you have to choose whether you want that or not. The second one is, we had them give us two prices, partially because of some of the feedback from the insurance company. The 90 mil, which is what the bid is based on, is the standard that's used. You get a little less life, and quantifying that it's in, but you get a less of a guarantee, and I think it's a 10-year differential in the guarantee for going with a 60 mil roof. Saves you, in the case that your parent low, $8,500. So those would be the two. If you choose to award, we need to know the status, whether you want to include those in or not. The first thing the contractor is going to do upon award, other than us going through the contracting process, which we've started, so that we can, as soon as you award, get the paperwork out the door, is I gotta order the materials, and then they'll be able to work once all that comes in.
So what do you guys think? I think the canopy roof, we just take off the building and not replace it.
We probably should do the 90, I mean, is this?
I think we should go with the better roofing.
Yeah,
I would agree with that.
I'd go with the.
To add 10 years, I mean,
And really the material costs for that extra millage, I mean,
Yeah.
it's worth it.
yeah, so I think number one.
Takes in that area of number one.
Alan Koonsman Roofing and Siding for a contract base with including the allowance of $116,550.
I'll make a motion to accept that bid from him at $116,550. Anybody shall second it? All in favor?
Aye.
I hate to do it, but we have to.
Yeah.
Now, everybody cross your fingers that they,
Yeah.
that's some more money comes.
So
But it's gotta get done, so.
you got all that, Stacy?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you.
Well, I think we'll be able to get the paperwork out to him tomorrow. I saw the draft of it today. So,
Very good. The T-ball field relocation, they had the backstop moved over and put in place, and they were hoping to get the dugouts moved over and taken care of this week, weather permitting. Looks like another half week though, of good weather. And the pool parking lot demolition, hopefully we can get started as soon as we get some permit.
So we went from the meeting we had with staff and drew up what we're looking at, and the result was an area of disturbance over a half acre, which means that the permitting gets a little fun through the conservation district. So we looked at it, talked with folks tonight, Eric and Michelle, making some adjustments to that to get below a half acre. We will do that. We have to submit it to because it's over 5,000 square feet, we have to submit it to the conservation district. It's a quick review. There's no special things that go in, and all of that's covered by the agreement we already have. And they should turn that around very quickly. It'll just be silk-socking a couple of things, but it means we're gonna narrow the focus of some of the demolition and leave some of the concrete patio out, so that we don't have the disturbance there.
Wish we could always pave over, worst comes to worst, without ripping it up, correct?
It won't impact it being a parking lot, so from a functional standpoint, it's not gonna impact you that way. We're not gonna be close enough that if, some of it fractures and we gotta take a little more out, we'll have a problem with that, but, it's good, so it should, if you pave up and tight to it, you should be okay. We wouldn't look at that. We're gonna leave some of it in for walking surface anyway.
Right.
So, because you weren't gonna start with paved area, we're gonna start with gravelled in until we let it have a chance to settle, so. Yeah.
Is that my report, Michelle?
So we currently have 2 payment plans. We have 15 accounts with small amounts or finance charge only sitting there. There's 8 accounts currently that are unpaid, and the one terminated, which is for that property that's been terminated for quite some time. They're planning to post 15 doors, or they did already.
Did already.
Just a reminder to everybody that they are trying to call people prior to posting, but to everybody, get your phone numbers in there if you don't already. Termination is tomorrow, the 9th. Next we have East Barkley Street Water Main Project.
So I sent you folks some options for doing that. One of the things I will note is that you don't have to do them immediately. You will have a match. It's still probably going to be in the $30,000 neighborhood to be able to use the funds. We do have to get the scope of the revised project approved by the funding agency. So we have to go through those steps, and once we've done that, then you can choose when you want us to put forth the effort to get a package ready to bid. So you won't have actually spent any money at that point. So I think that's an important thing. I'm going to be talking about you spending money on other grant funds and all. So it would be good for you to get it set and get their approval for the project you like. And then we can, based on, as we go through and talk about the other financial items and we get all the other bids in, you can determine when you want to proceed with the project. So basically, based on the funding, they're not going to pay for mill and overlay significantly at all. We can do a little bit, but they took out the equivalent of doing the whole line. So that sounds like great. We can do the whole line, just no mill and overlay, but the mill and overlay portion was taking care of our trench restoration. So we still have a cost. that has to come back in to take that out. So that's why you don't see me wiping out the mill and overlay, and we can put in all the line. Basically, you can put in for that grant in your required match about half of the line.
And we were talking about the home street side of Barkley,
Yes.
that end.
And by not doing the mill and overlay, we knock out the need to do liquid fuels required work, like the handicap ramps, which one of the advantages of not doing them is it knocks out engineering costs too. Because the ramps are a couple $1,000 to do the PennDOT standards each, between the extra survey required and the engineering effort to design an ADA ramp set. So you don't have to replace those because you're not renewing the street. But that goes along with doing the street work. It's one of those requirements for your liquid fuels money.
As usual, we have great options.
Do you wanna table till next meeting after we review the budget for the expenditures
get
that
some
we've just
numbers.
discussed
Yeah,
for
maybe we better just,
the co-op as well as the roof?
yeah, let's table it. Then we can move on to the next one, the chlorination system rehab LSA grant contract. Everybody get a chance to look at it. I think though, our portion of the money for this one is in the budget though, correct? If I remember correctly?
I believe
I
so,
thought
I
it
can.
I feel like it was only like 7,000
Yeah,
or
it's
something.
Yes,
something
very
like that.
little, and it's,
And I'm pretty sure it is in here if I
in the
remember
sewer
correctly.
budget.
I don't know, there's too many numbers to remember anymore. But I'm pretty sure it is. Pretty sure we had that number before we did the budget.
I would expect if you authorize that for execution tonight, we'll have it back from the funding agency fully executed and allowed to proceed before the next meeting. And I would, this is basically, there's no real design, we have to put together, not a permit pack, we have to put together the bid pack for it because of the value, it has to be bid. I expect that we would be able to have it in hand, the bids in the June.
What's the timeframe for them to do it?
We wanna do it when the flows are low, so the end of the summer or early fall. I'm talking with Alex, cause we have the opportunity in the chlorination basin, it's actually got two side-by-side chambers. So for the bulk of the work, we can have it taken off so that only one side is closed while the other's open, and that, unless we get hit with the rains we've gotten recently, but in large part, we can plan for that, and they won't have to have it down long, they gotta take it down, sandblast, there's the word, and then coat, do repair and then epoxy coat the structure. So it's fairly straightforward work. There are a couple of areas where we'll have to bypass pump, the head and the discharge. So those areas will have to be down, but they're not for very long. So.
Do you have any idea how long it would take for them to do it?
We thought 3 weeks, 1
weeks.
week on either side, and then 1 week for the common, doing it in spots. So that you take it down, bypass pump, put it back up. Type of deal.
Did we have that under pump maintenance? Do you remember? I don't either.
I have it in my notes in my Excel.
There's 20 there. I feel like that's where it is. Yeah, there's 20 there, so I think we should be all right. Did anyone have any other questions before we authorize execution of the contract?
As long as we have the money, we need to do it, we have the grant money.
If I remember correctly, majority of it is covered by the grant, and our match was only like seven sticks in my mind.
It's seven and
something,
change, I believe.
something like that, yeah,
7,000.
and it needs to be done, I mean, like everything.
So you make.
So I'll make a motion to, authorize execution of the contract.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Very good.
If you want, I can do hometown heroes quick.
Please.
So we have 10 more to order, we're just waiting, for all the checks to come in. I think we're only waiting for 1 or 2, if I remember, I think. I'll double check which one did. But 2 things. Right now, we just have, I think there's maybe a handful of poles left on Franklin, and we had authorized High, but I don't know how many poles are there that are able to have banners on them. Do we want to authorize one more street just in case when they go to put these up, we don't have enough spots? And does anybody have any suggestions?
I know where 2 can go, South Home Avenue.
Well, Home was already approved.
Are there poles there? There
I
shouldn't
don't
be any
know.
pole, are there still poles empty on them?
Right across
Well,
from
we
my
didn't
house.
So
do,
going up.
they only
Yeah.
did up to State Street, they
Okay.
didn't do the other side.
Well, we approved home, so that would include South Home,
How long are they staying up for?
2 years.
2 years,
Okay.
the first batch they'll start coming down the end of this year. But within the borough, there's probably only maybe 2 or 3 there on South Home. The problem is I just don't know how many they can actually hang them on High Street, cause you know if they have extra anything on it, they can't hang them there. So I'm just wondering if we should approve another just in case and make it like an overflow just in case kind of thing. But I would stay away from Washington, cause I don't think we should hang anything on Washington until they're done. I just keep thinking all that equipment, like, no, that's not good, that's not a good idea.
Anybody have any suggestions? As
I mean,
far as
my
this
thought
street?
is probably the next most traveled might be Smith. I don't know.
You have a lot of trees on Smith.
Trees. Unless it's the other side of Smith.
I was gonna say, you stay on like this side, if you go on.
On the basketball, the old
Yeah,
basketball
the old
court side.
basketball court
That's
side
a
is,
lot.
yeah, it's just a couple.
So there's probably.
I was just trying to think of it as like more traveled than others. I mean, if somebody else has another suggestion, I'm completely open that I don't really have a preference. I just thought maybe we should have a backup just in case.
If
There's
you
not
do
enough.
East Smith from Hawes
Oh, the other one.
out towards Long
northeast.
Swamp,
Yeah,
isn't that less, that doesn't have any trees?
Does that have any poles or is that underground?
Are there poles out that
Oh,
way?
yeah.
If you cross over Hawes.
If you cross over
Down to
Hawes,
St. John,
yeah, go down that way.
yeah, there's no trees down
Yeah,
there.
you just have
that
that
affect
area
it.
right between
Between home and Hawes.
Hawes, it's tree lined on both sides. So maybe West Smith and
Or if we just say Smith and they put them where they can.
where they can, yeah.
That way
And
you
that's
can do
still
both
just,
ends.
I mean, I think I would tell them to, finish Franklin first. Then I would, and then there's a couple there, and then if they still don't have enough, then, make Smith the last place. Things have slowed up, so I mean, maybe we might have one more batch.
Scott?
Can you double up on any of the poles?
Usually not. The guys they tried and we're having issues with getting them on the opposite, straight across from it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so many of our poles have utilities going all over the place and lines on the inside, then they're going to the residents. So you can't, houses, and you can't put them on that side. We actually looked into that, and tried unsuccessfully, so.
And then one last thing, So we had one banner that has come down and is essentially ripped in half. Today I found 2 more that are damaged. One on State Street. I'm not sure if the banner itself is damaged. If it's not, they can just replace the bottom bracket and it'll be okay. But there's one on Old Topton Road that the top is ripped almost halfway across. Anybody have any thoughts on how you want to handle damaged stuff? We really haven't come across it up to this point, luckily. But I mean, the banner themselves are about $110 without the brackets. Should I be offering these people to just get a replacement banner? Should I tell them if they want to replace it, they have to replace the whole thing? Any thoughts on that? We've been lucky so far, but now we've got 3 all in 1 week.
We give them the choice whether they want to put a new one up or.
Well, yeah, I would give them the choice. I wouldn't tell them
And
you
they
have
could
to
have the
replace
one
it,
that's
but.
torn, because it really doesn't affect the actual,
Well, the first one that came down, the one on Franklin.
yeah, that one got nailed.
That one's.
Is that weather related or is that?
Not
No.
the one on
I
Franklin.
do not suspect that the weather had anything
It
to
is
do
believed
with
that
it.
one was hit, but the one on Old Topton Road, I'm assuming has to be weather, cause
Wind.
it's up by the Med Ed building, it's way too high, nobody could have hit it.
Okay.
The one on State Street, it could have been, or it could have been, I don't know,
We had a lot of ugly weather the last couple of
Yeah.
months.
I'm not really
Wind
sure on
wise.
that one.
The guys can take a look when they go in.
Yeah,
Is it a problem for the guys to replace it? I mean,
well, no, it's just a question of
We'd
how
have
are
to
we
order
gonna,
one.
you know, I can reach out to them and be like, hey, your banner was damaged, you know, if you want to replace the banner, it would be, you know, $110 and I can throw it on this order, you know, I already have the photo and all the info, it's, you know.
and if not, then do we take that banner down and use that space to put another banner up?
Well, we could, yeah, I mean, the banner's gonna have to come down, it's damaged.
Right, right.
You know, well, I don't know about the one on State Street, but the one on East Smith is gonna just get worse, it's gonna keep ripping, so that one's gonna have to come down. But my thought was to reach out to them, the one for sure, well, the 2 for sure that I know of, and then when we find out about the one on State Street, and just say, you know, hey, your banner was damaged, if you would like to replace the banner, I can get it in this order, but it would be, you know, $110.
Does the banner company guarantee it?
No.
They can't, no. Yeah, no,
Especially not if it was not weather.
yeah. But even if it was weather, they're out in the weather,
No,
so
so
there's
I
no,
just-
yeah.
That one.
I mean, that's
nobody
part of the
would-
reason why we only have them set to be up for 2 years, because
Yeah.
they get just normal wear and tear just from being outside. So after 2 years, they come down and people can have the banner, but if they're damaged. So is everybody good with that option? I'll just,
Yeah.
when I find out about the one on State, I'll reach out to all 3, because we're about to order anyway. So if they wanna get them replaced right away, I already have all the info and
Yeah,
photos
because
and.
it's on the.
I think it's a great
Just let
idea.
Michelle take care of it.
I say reach out.
That's what I shall do then. If they take down that one, can you ask them to take a picture of it so I know which one it is? You can't tell which one it is right now. It's twisted. The one on State Street?
And the other one was the Hazen home, correct? The bracket's broken.
The one on State Street is between Haas and Home.
That's an only
Okay.
bracket broken.
The other one that's broken is right in front of the Med Ed station on Old Topton Road.
Good.
Yeah, that's it for me.
Monica, you have anything with the ambulance?
We have some fundraisers coming up. September 21st in the Bowers Park, they're gonna have a carnival type of thing. Also, during the Kutztown Fair, they're looking for some volunteers to help with, how they assist out there. they do provide scooters and things for people at the folk festival. So they would like some volunteers to help at that booth with that type of thing. That's the folk festival, which is June 29th to July 7th. And that is only during the day. If anybody would be interested in volunteering, you can contact the ambulance directly, 682-4333, or toptonems.net. They'll be at Swamp Fest too for fundraising. That's June 8th, all day. I believe that's it at the moment.
Do you still have anything, Charlie? You spoke
Oh,
half the
but-
night. Sorry to jump over you.
No, that's fine. I couldn't leave without giving you some updates. So on the well project, we did get out and do the survey. The fire company was very helpful with that and helping us locate their existing features. There are septics that are on the road, near the road side of that field. The good news is we knew that there were some in that area. The well site is actually, we were looking for the back side, which is up gradient from the septics. The well would be deep enough. That's not going to be a concern. It's got adequate distance. So our hydrogeologist is having the discussions with DEP on that spot, the siting of the well, and on testing requirements for adjacent wells. They'll want us to do some background testing before. So my anticipation is May, I should be able to come to you with costs for you to look at the next steps. So some of the steps may be small, but just a reminder, when we get to the drilling and pump test, we're looking in the $75,000 range. So once we get there, it's not like things expire though. So you're not under a gun to necessarily do anything quickly, but that will be the next step in there. Most of those dollars go to a well driller. And you don't lose it, they drill the actual well hole. So if it proves out through those steps, that's the well hole. So you'll have spent that money towards getting the final project. That's that. No real changes on the MS4 front. We would like for the master park plan to meet with whatever the committee is, whether that's the committee of this body or a separate committee, on that in May with some draft items Brian would have from the previous work, but then to start that feedback process. So that's not any money out of your, that one's no cost to you. Washington Street, my plan is to have that for you in May, so you'll have that cost to go through. I think that's an important item to carry through, and our plan is also in May is to be able to talk through putting the Oak Alley project out. So I will, between now and then, make sure that I've given Stacy any updates on matches for any of these. I think that DCNR project was matched already with other work, and I need to verify. So I think that one's pretty straightforward for you. But yeah, so May, we should be having those discussions carrying through. One of the things that came up was about flooding again. So we did, in talking with my grants person, we found a grant that can be used to do studies. We're right now trying to figure out how we can turn the study to fit the case of the grant. So it would cost about $25,000 to do the study. The reason for that, if you remember back when we talked about that, is we know there's a constriction here at the end of the park, Toad Creek. Our concern is if we clear that up, we also know there's constrictions in a couple of places between there and the bridge under the railroad tracks. What, from a liability standpoint, we don't wanna do is alleviate the flooding, a known flooding point in one problem, and move it to somebody else who doesn't have a problem now. So what we need to study is starting at the railroad bridge, all the way back to the park, to find those choke points. And what you do, I know it's counterintuitive a little bit, is you start at that end and work your way project-wise up, so that you don't create flooding anywhere. If we're fortunate, some of those projects are not very big, and then we get to the cleaning of that big culvert that goes under the road.
Well, how does that work if the end is on railroad property?
So it's a study that, we're not necessarily concerned about the bridge. It's just that it's the last construction before the stream goes clear. So we want, that has to be included. The culverts under home, I think it is, are one of the big areas of concern. We've had flooding in that area on protracted rainstorms already. The other problem is Toad Creek comes down, runs into the railroad, and runs later on the railroad dump. And it's a constrained stream in that area. And the concern that we've seen before is that area can have some problems. So it's working it back through so that we know what areas could flood and would potentially be a problem and what would need to happen. Because then you'll be able to take those results and go after grants for that work. There's work to do flood mitigation. Some of that's the same program, but you gotta know what you're doing first.
Well, that's what I mean, if you start at the end, isn't that on railroad property?
Well, we don't know that we would have to do anything there.
Well, yeah,
So that's,
but I mean,
if we did, we would have to have, we probably will have to have conversations with the railroad in regards to where we run into it and then go through it, because there's no way to work on that stream without impacting railroad property. I think it's on railroad
It is
property.
on railroad.
So that's part of what the identification of the problem is. If that bridge turns out to be a problem, if the stream in the railroad property is a problem, Joan will have to help go through with having those discussions with the railroad.
Railroad and licensing to be on railroad property.
Well, cause I can tell you, when we get a lot of rain, it backs up into our yard.
Yeah, so that's the kind of stuff we've gotta hit.
And that's where it goes under.
Yeah, because we don't want to end up just moving the problem down the line and flooding somebody new. That usually doesn't turn out really well. So that's what we are looking for the grant, and I found one. Now I gotta make sure we can make the project fit the scoring criteria well. We would apply shortly, so I think I'd be bringing that for you for any approvals in May for that application. Yeah, I think that's my list. Yeah. Do you get the LMI judgment from the county? Did they give you any assessment of the income? I couldn't
But I
find
can
it.
reach out, I
If
can
you
reach out to the
could,
redevelopment.
just for grants, that would help. I can get it elsewhere, I just couldn't find it for
For Topton.
Berks County and Topton.
Okay.
That would help for the. I think the borough's all one census tract, so it should be very straightforward.
Good. All right. Last thing on our list is the Topton Borough Preservation Board. Larry has his usual, everything he did for the month report. He's a very busy guy. One of his last comments was have a great Easter. But if anybody wants to see it, I can show you his handwritten report. Anything else from anybody? Council?
Ms. Stout, did you receive an email from Trinda regarding our waiver request
Yeah.
for shut off? Okay, Borough Council must review that. It is not an office decision.
Can we do it here? With the sensitivity of it.
I think it really is, it's not an executive session,
No.
item really.
We just need to
Yeah,
not
we
say
don't-
names,
we don't
not
have to
say
identify by
addresses.
name or address, yeah.
I mean, essentially, we had a request, a medical request to not shut off water to the property.
It was a doctor's note.
Yeah, it was a doctor's
There
note.
was an infant
Regarding
in
an
the
infant.
house. The visit took place, the doctor visit and doctor's note were dated, April 4th. The waiver is a waiver of shut off, it's not a waiver of payment, it's a waiver of shut off.
Okay.
Now, this is not under the public utility code, because we're not covered by the public utility code, but I would say just use that regulation as a guideline, for 30 days, and then it would have to be recertified for another 30 days, up to 3 months. Three
We
separate
have a provision in
recertifications.
our policy for medical,
Mhm.
so.
It just has to be approved.
We have to
Right,
approve.
to be approved, yeah. So be approved for a period of 30 days from April 4th, so from April 4th to May 4th.
I'll make a motion that we grant them.
I'll second that, no, I'm sorry.
No, you can.
Sounds like everybody's in favor, so.
Thank you.
I have two questions for Joan I'd like to ask.
Ask away.
So, Joan, as a borough council, we really have like 3 documents that we really have to follow. One is the borough code. Another would be the Sunshine Act laws and ethics.
Yeah.
So, is there anything, I'm thinking more with the borough code, are there any, does an elected official need to have authorization from anyone to ask our solicitor a question?
You don't need authorization to ask the solicitor a question such as you're doing right now. But if you're asking the solicitor to research something, then in a situation like that, then there would need to be authorization because there's expenditure. But understand that the client is council as a whole and not any one member of council.
Yeah.
And that advice is in capacity as solicitor to council and not as an attorney to any specific member of council.
Absolutely. I just wanted to make it clear that if any one of us elected officials wanted to ask you a question,
Here at the meeting,
Here at
Yes.
the meeting table, that's.
absolutely.
not
that's-
privately.
That's right,
Right.
but as far as privately, where there's expenditure of funds, that would require
Right, if I wanted to have a
authorization.
special meeting with you,
Right.
while you're here, I can ask you a
Yeah.
question. Okay, just wanted to make sure that was not anything that was against code.
No, not at all.
And then also, can an elected official request an executive session?
Can an elected official request?
Request an executive session for the matters that would
Yes,
normally be.
yes, can request it, but it's a motion of council as to whether, there would be an executive session or not.
Right, but that, someone could request.
It could be, it's.
Well, that's kinda how we've
right,
been doing
It's
it.
requested.
We
yeah,
ask the president
Right,
to,
it's requested
Yeah,
to
if
the
we're
presiding
meeting, if you had
official.
a concern about, say, one of the reasons we can meet,
Right.
maybe litigation or personnel, you could say, I would like to request an executive session, is that correct?
Yes, and then council would have to vote on it.
Right, of
Yes.
course, okay. I just wanted to make it clear, because I think that there might be some people on council that aren't aware of what we're allowed to do as elected officials. And if you could please put in the minutes those 2 questions and the answers to those questions, that one of us does not have to get authority from everyone to ask the solicitor
Right,
a
in
question.
this context, yeah.
In this context. And Stacy, when can we expect the minutes that we didn't get tonight for the last meeting?
They're about 1/3 done. I have a deadline of working with the auditors, so I've been trying to balance
Okay.
both of those. So hopefully
So
by
we'll get
next
those by
meeting.
next meeting?
Yeah.
Okay,
Hopefully you'll have two meetings to approve, 2 meeting minutes.
Okay.
Meetings
And there's
minutes.
no other minutes that are missing?
I believe there are, actually. I
You-
believe April of 2023 was not completed.
When's that going to be ready? That's a pretty long time ago, from a year ago?
They need to be reviewed, I believe. They're,
If you wanna go in and
Draft.
type them up, I'm sure
Right.
Stacy wouldn't mind.
Well, if you put me on payroll, I guess I could do that, but no, I mean, I'm just wondering where our minutes are, that's a year, we had some complaints last year because our minutes were taking so long to be done. We shouldn't be taking a year to get our minutes out for the public. So, do you think that all the minutes would be possibly ready at the next meeting?
we can try, but any help would be greatly appreciated.
So the April minutes were not typed?
They were typed, and they're very long, so I'd like to go through them.
Okay.
So if anyone else would like to, who was on council at that time, to go through and review them.
Well, that's the problem, now we're a year.
See, I'm a secretary, so I have to
Yeah,
put
so-
my name on them,
Right,
so.
so I'm just saying, it's a year ago, who can remember, it's kind of hard to
Yeah.
remember from a year ago. So,
Yep.
okay, I just wanted to ask about that. Thank you.
Sure.
Do you need the minutes checked for?
I'd have to really review them anyway.
I mean, is
you
it
know.
something I could come in and help check them for you or something?
Sure, if you want to. Great, thank you.
Anybody else, anything?
One thing I just want to say, because I brought up those questions about the code, I would recommend that any new members of council look at the borough code and make yourself familiar with what we are allowed and not allowed to do as council members.
I think there's some online training around that, isn't there?
Yeah, there is, like, this is the book right here. This is the code book. You can get this online,
I think there's some training you can.
and there's other stuff as well, but I would recommend if you're new to council, make sure that you know what you can and can't do at a meeting.
Anything else? Motion to adjourn,
Second.
all in favor? Meeting adjourned.
Just come behind you.
Oh, I'm sorry.